Starcasting to you from the City of Angels. Hello everyone, I'm Kiris. Thank you so much for being here and listening to the Voice of Astrology podcast. This is your astrology cosmic superpower for the week beginning Sunday, March 31st through Saturday, April 6th, 2024. Let's journey together with astrology and explore how to connect with the stars, the planets, the energies for our new week ahead. Our springtime night sky is changing as we welcome springtime season. The constellation Orion is making its exit with Sirius, the dog star, following closely behind. As our beautiful Earth bursts into a tapestry of blossoms this April, the skies above prepare their own magnificent showcase. The transition from winter's silent dark nights to April's vibrant starlit evenings is much like watching nature awaken from its slumber. Just as the daisy's petals stretch towards the sun, the stars and celestial bodies put on a nightly display that equals any springtime bloom. I love daisies and all flowers, but I think yellow tulips are my favorite flower. What is your favorite flower as we watch the springtime night sky blossom? On Monday, April 1st, we have the last quarter half moon, which is when half of the moon's surface is illuminated, and it marks the midpoint between the full moon and new moon. This is a point when the right half of the moon, from the northern hemisphere perspective, is visible and the left half is in darkness. Friday, April 5th, we have Mars, the fourth planet from the sun, will be notably close to the moon in the sky, just 2 degrees north. When celestial bodies come close together in the sky, it's known as a conjunction. This can create a captivating visual spectacle, especially if viewed in a location with minimal light pollution. On Saturday, Saturn's Day, April 6th, we have what's called an occultation. What that is that Saturn, the sixth planet from the sun, and known for its iconic rings, will be positioned just 1.2 north of the moon. And when this happens, it denotes what's called an occultation, meaning the moon will momentarily hide or occult, make hidden Saturn from our view on Earth. There's just no other way to say it. This week, astrologically, it's messy. It's a hot mess. And I'm going to explain why. Let's start with Sunday, March 31st. Now, as we start off the week on the 31st, we've got the moon in Sagittarius. Now, the moon in Sagittarius just doesn't know when to quit. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. It just keeps going and going and going. The moon in Sagittarius makes a square aspect to the love planet, the romantic planet, Venus, exalted in the sign of Pisces. Now, when we blend the fire of Sagittarius with the water of Pisces, this creates passion, steam, heat. We also have the moon in Sagittarius making a square and activating aspect to Neptune in Pisces. So there it is again, this blending of fire and water where there is no clarity, no objectivity. In astrology, we work with 4 elements: fire, air, earth, and water. Air is that element of staying level-headed, objective, seeing clearly, where the emotions are not overwhelming or overpowering. Now, just to begin with, the moon in Sag making those squares to Venus and Neptune in Pisces, that's overwhelming passion. It's over the top because, again, Sagittarius and Pisces both ruled by Jupiter. Now, along with that, the moon in Sagittarius makes a fire trine aspect to Mercury in Aries. Mercury is about to station retrograde on Monday. So the moon, which is an insatiable appetite, making that fire trine flow to Mercury in impatient Aries that wants everything yesterday. This is the fire and the emotion of misreading a situation and not being clear about it. For instance, it's a holiday weekend. Let's say you're at a party, a gathering, or whatever you may be doing, and you see your love, Venus exalted in Pisces, having a chat very innocently with someone, and it can be misinterpreted as flirting or other things, and then the emotions start going over the top. Let's say there's a situation where you're really jazzed up about purchasing something because over the weekend and holiday weekends, that is really promoted as far as buying something. And with the moon in Sagittarius, buying something big, a big purchase, like a car or a home, whatever it may be. Now, the moon in Sagittarius really wants that, and the moon making these squares to Venus and Neptune in water is very excited and over the top, passionate about, I've got to have it. I've got to have it now. And the clarity, the element of air, is simply not there as far as, well, what will it cost? What will it cost to maintain or repair, for instance, a very expensive car? It's one thing to be able to purchase an expensive car, but maintaining and buying the parts and making repairs is a whole other level of financial matter. Whatever the situation is for you, this Jupiter, Sagittarius, Pisces aspect is where we can just go whole hog and not bring it down to a level of, wait a second, let me just see clearly about what it is that the reality of it really is. It's the emotions taking charge, and you have to have it. You're so in love with it, like walking onto a car lot and saying, I love that car, I have to have it. Well, first of all, please don't do that. But if you were to do that, it's you're being swept away by the desire, Moon, Venus, and the emotion of wanting it and wanting it now. Ever have the experience of fighting, arguing in public with your loved ones, and what that feels like after the spectacle has been made, when you could have just waited for conditions to be more supportive? Watch, you will either have this or see this as we start off the week on Sunday. And these days, there's nothing like it being shown on camera, because there's always someone with a phone just ready to record, and there it is for all to see. Messy. Monday, April 1st, we have the fourth quarter moon and Mercury stationing retrograde. Now, when we move from fourth quarter moon to new moon, that is the time when we are getting ready to release things that need to be released, things that we need to say goodbye to in preparation for the new moon eclipse coming up. Now, along with that, we've got Mercury, the planet of thinking, communication, the mind, stationing retrograde in the sign of Aries. Aries is the newborn baby of the zodiac. It's cardinal fire. Aries rushes in without thinking about the consequences. The newborn babe of the zodiac does not have caution and fear yet. It just rams right through, head first. Aries rules over the head. Now, Mercury is stationing, meaning from our perspective, it appears to just stand still and take a pause before it is fully in retrograde motion. It's also April Fool's Day. It's also the fourth quarter moon at 12 degrees Capricorn. Now, the 12 degrees Capricorn is about the past, certain structures that have been built up, certain rules and obligations, very specific responsibilities. The Mercury stationing retrograde in Aries is preparing for what it is that is brand new. So with these two opposing wants and compulsions taking place at the same time, this is not the time to force an issue. Take a pause. Mercury isn't moving. Just wait. Mercury is the word, the promise. Do not sign on the dotted line. Do not give your word about something that you're not sure you can keep. Do not make a promise, an obligation, until you really think it through. Because when we give a verbal agreement, when we make a promise, even at certain times when it isn't written down yet, it is a verbal agreement. This certainly is not the day to do so. So then with the Mercury, when it goes retrograde, you don't want a person and or a situation coming back to you and saying, yes, but you gave your word. You made an agreement. You are obligated, responsible. Fourth quarter moon in Capricorn, you are responsible to see it through. Messy. Tuesday, we still have the moon in her detriment in the sign of Capricorn, which is the moon's placement where the moon is out in exile. She's the furthest away from her natural home placement. This is an orphan child trying to find its way home. Now, the moon in Capricorn, her detriment, makes an earth trine flow to Uranus in Taurus. Uranus being the higher octave of Mercury. So when you are approached with, I've got a brilliant idea, let's move forward, the trine makes it easier to mess up, make a mistake. Then the moon in Capricorn makes a square aspect to Mercury, now fully retrograde in Aries. This is where you're out of sorts. The moon in her detriment is you're not quite sure what you think, how you feel. You're not quite sure what it is that you truly want. The moon is our emotional body, and when we are connected to our emotional body, not the moon in Capricorn, is when our instincts, our feelings are right on point. We know what we want. We know how we feel. We're connected to where we live always, which is in the emotional body, not on this day. The moon trine Uranus makes the assumption that some idea is a brilliant flash of insight and a great idea to follow through on. Not true with the moon out of sorts in exile. Then the moon squaring Mercury, now fully retrograde with that Mercury in Aries, is the action to start talking about this brilliant idea. A square is action, activating, and moon squaring Mercury retrograde, you wouldn't want to talk away what potentially could be a great idea, but you're just not sure yet as far as how you feel about it. This is an aspect of don't say anything. The smartest thing you could do is keep quiet about what's percolating but not ready yet. Messy. Wednesday, Mercury's day, we have the moon entering the rebel fixed air Aquarius. Now, Aquarius is freedom and liberation and breakthroughs. Aquarius is that independence of thought and communication. Aquarius, as an air sign, will not be restricted. And now the moon in Aquarius makes a conjunction to Pluto in Aquarius. This is the shadow, and going to that dark place of fear where you find your potential, your hidden gold. The moon is trying to discover and explore and go to that place of what will bring you transformation. Moon conjunct Pluto in fixed air Aquarius. Along with that, we've got Venus still exalted in Pisces, making a conjunction to Neptune in Pisces. With Venus conjunct Neptune in Pisces, think Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein was a Pisces, and in his early education years, people thought he had a mental block, a mental form of retardation. He was quiet, he was shy, he was gentle, just like a Pisces, and he was contemplating the universe. Albert Einstein said, imagination is more important than knowledge. So as you're going down to the deep, Hades, Pluto, and figuring out and finding where is your greatest potential, where is the gold hidden, and it's there, and it's unlimited. The Venus exalted in Pisces conjunct Neptune is also the emotion and the feeling of what it is that you're imagining. Air Aquarius and water Pisces do not blend easily. In the alchemy of astrology, water and air aren't harmonious or easily blended together. It's my mind and thinking in conflict with my Venus conjunct Neptune in Pisces. It's waves, it's stormy, it's not centered and peaceful. This is a day where it's midweek. People are working, we're busy. Take some time, however it may be possible for you, to one, of course, not commit fully to anything. Also to take some time to imagine, contemplate, what we used to call wool gather, where your mind is just going where it wants to go, and we're not trying to direct or control it. We're just going with the imagination and the potential inspiration. That's the important part. The cosmic energies and your cosmic superpower is the power today of your imagination always. But today, the cosmos is really putting a spotlight on the energy of just wanting to let the mind wander. And if you are seeing and experiencing, why does it seem like people are out to lunch? They're just not paying attention. They're not present. It's not because anything up in the sky is making you do anything. It's more that the light from the cosmos puts certain highlights and spotlights on things and times that it is supportive to do. To take some time for yourself where you're just not focused on anything in particular. Your face isn't constantly in your phone or in your computer, where you just want to give the mind some peace and imagination. This is what this day is astrologically, because we are in fourth quarter to new moon, dark side of the moon. In your imagination and down in the shadows, moon conjunct Pluto, you may feel, find, discover things that you want to say goodbye to, release at this time in preparation for the new action. Air and water, that's splish splashy messy. Thursday, April 4th, we have Venus, the planet of love and marriage, leaving her exaltation and entering cardinal fire, first sign of the zodiac, Aries. Now, when Venus enters Aries, Venus is in her detriment. She is the furthest away from her home natural placement. Venus in Aries is too hot to handle. Venus in Aries is just like what Aries rules over, the head. Venus in Aries is losing your head, losing your mind over someone you're falling in love with, someone that you are hot for. Aries rushes in where angels and fools fear to tread, meaning when you meet this person and not seeing clearly about what you're potentially about to get involved with. And we've all known someone where we can see that the person is so wrong for someone that we love. And all the discussions and all the reasons why just fall on deaf ears. But what I'm trying to say here is that Venus in Aries is just too much, too soon, too hot, too passionate. It just loses its head. Aries rules over the head and just rushes right in. Mercury, the mind and thinking, is now retrograde in Aries. So all of the logic and trying to stay level-headed and think it through, that's out the window. Mercury retrograde in Aries, now Venus entering her detriment in Aries. This is the springtime falling hard and losing your reason over someone. Venus in Aries is very innocent. Venus in Aries is gullible. It can be taken advantage of. Aries is a sign that just wants to be loved. The first sign, the newborn baby. And when Venus in Aries is hurt because they did rush in, they didn't think it through. This kind of situation where the love wasn't or isn't reciprocated is very painful for Venus in Aries. And Venus in Aries, like the newborn babe, the heart is very resilient. The heart will trust again. So this gullibility and being taken advantage of with Venus in Aries is also something that is happening as we have the Mercury retrograde in Aries and the Venus going into her detriment. It's an inclination where the Venus in Aries, the furthest away from her natural home placement in Libra, will fight to the death. Venus in Aries is Mars, fight to the death for the loved one, and just giving so much so soon and hanging in there with the Mars ruling over Venus in Aries, and that kind of love and goodness being taken advantage of. It's falling in love with a hot mess. And no matter how anyone tries to encourage you to see it objectively, that Venus in Aries is just not listening, not hearing it. This is hot messy. Friday, April 5th, we have the moon entering mutable water Pisces, and the moon in Pisces will make a conjunction to Mars in Pisces. Now this is hotter than a pepper patch. Moon conjunct Mars with this overwhelming water emotion. This aspect is emotional infatuation. It's a crush. It's also water, which is delusion, the worst lies that we tell ourselves because we refuse to see that the crush, the infatuation, is a human being, is a person. It's looking through the lens that is not clear. Moon, Mars, and Pisces is putting someone so high up on a pedestal, like a fan, like a hero worship, and feeling and wanting what you want, regardless of the truth of what it really is. Yes, this is a continuation of the Venus that just went into Aries, but the Moon Mars, which is taking action on the emotions and backing up the Venus in Aries with this insatiable desire and emotion, with the Moon conjunct Mars in Pisces. This water aspect here is beyond fertile, but do you want to be fertile with what it is that you're dealing with? This Moon Mars is acting quickly because Mars takes action, asks questions later on. The Moon Mars indulgence in Pisces can also be addiction, alcohol, drugs, the unplanned getting into a fertility situation that wasn't planned and wasn't wanted because the facts and the clarity are simply not there. Fire, air, earth, and water. No air lacks the level-headed clarity to think and plan before action. Messy. Saturday, April 6th, we have what's called the occultation of Saturn. The moon is still in Pisces, and the moon will come very close to Saturn in Pisces. Saturn is responsibility. It's pulling it together. Get organized. Put up boundaries. Saturn is the great teacher. Saturn is also time. There are certain times for certain things. With the moon blocking out the light of Saturn, the moon being irrational, not thinking it through. The moon is an emotional instinct or compulsion, a desire. The moon is blocking out, dimming the light of Saturn and saying, I'm not paying attention to you as far as the choices I make right now. What will be the long-term lesson and responsibility of Saturn? Saturn being the greater malefic in astrology. This is greater malefic messy, to say the least. Everything in astrology is natural and connected to the natural world, connected to our nature as human beings, the natural order of life. The Moon-Mars conjunction in Pisces is the taking the action to grieve a loss. It isn't natural to end something or go through the ending of something and not pause and grieve that loss and ending. All of the holidays that we celebrate them and take a pause because something in our life has ended and or transformed, where the former life will never be the same again. This warrants stopping, pausing for a moment, Mercury stationing, and taking note and marking the occasion, whether it's a happy occasion or a grieving occasion. So the moon conjunct Mars in Pisces, Pisces being the last sign of the zodiac, the confinement, the sorrow, the imprisonment. As we are preparing for the new moon, and as we are entering springtime, where every inclination naturally in nature and in us is towards growth and new life, we have to prepare and put down the foundation and be ready. We have to prepare the conditions for new life to begin. To do that, the fourth quarter to new moon is the releasing, healing, purification. Pisces is water. Take the time to grieve, to have a good cry if you need to do so. It's a cleansing, purification process as we are moving towards the new moon eclipse. There are people that will go through a divorce, a huge loss, and then without taking the time to legitimately grieve that ending, they're off and running again as if nothing happened. This pressure to be perfect and producing all of the time is not natural. There are events in life connected to the astrology and the natural world. Same thing. We're pausing for a moment and saying it's okay to grieve, to cry, to be messy, to be human. All of your emotions, every single one of them, from joy to anger to grief, they have their human purpose at the appropriate time and event. So this week, if you just see and feel like yourself that people are just not paying attention, they're out to lunch, they're somewhere else. This is all of the different emotions, from Aries excitement and passion to Pisces grieving and purification and cleansing, and just so much going on at the same time from fourth quarter to new moon. That's when you don't have to decide anything. You don't have to give big promises and make huge purchases. You don't have to put the pressure of being perfect on yourself. Feel your feelings and just know it's all right to have an all over the place, hot, messy week, emotionally and energetically. I would make a point to take some time for yourself. And again, everybody is just so busy. We're working all of the time. But take some time for yourself to imagine, go for a walk, feel your feelings, whatever it is that you need to do to just get off the grid for the moment and not have to focus and think so intensely. It is natural in your nature and in nature to do this for yourself and the people in your world. If you have someone in your world that says, look, I just need some space, just need some time to do nothing and think, just let it be. Everybody needs that at certain times. Ladies, I hear this all the time as an astrologer. The person you're with, he wants to be in his man cave room, just wants to chill out, is not in the mood to engage. Just let it be. Don't force the issue like, is there something wrong? No, just let a person have their space. Or it can and does get very messy, because when someone is overwhelmed intellectually, emotionally, just let them have their space and let it be for the moment. They'll come back again. Life won't be perfect, but it will be worth it. And love will always be worth it. Thank you, everyone. And I will see you all in the stars.